Welcome, Falcon fans. It's your boy, Bro Talk, and we're going to talk one last time about Week 10 and the opportunity that the Falcons missed, losing their first divisional game against their most hated rival, the New Orleans Aints. And before we move on to Week 11, we just got to look back and see what opportunity was there. It just seems like the Falcons continuously get in their own way. Defensively, we know what it is. A lot of people are calling for the firing of Jimmy Lake. I say pump the brakes, as frustrating as it may be. Younghoe Koo, 1 of 4, one of those being blocked. You make 2 of 4, 3 of 4. The Falcons come out with a victory against a bad New Orleans Aints team. And offensively, you got to convert those drives. You can't go for 4 field goal attempts. If you convert at least half of those, we're not even having this conversation, and we're celebrating another division win, a sweep against our hated rival. But now you're 4-1 in the division with an overall record of 6-4, coming up on a pivotal matchup. But we'll get to that in another video. The defense, it doesn't seem like anything is progressing in the right direction, even though Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake both say that they are progressing. We're on the outside. We're not inside the building. We don't know what the meetings look like. All we can do is give our outside perspective. And my perspective is we don't have the personnel. I mean, Jimmy Lake had switched up a lot of things this past week. At one point in our nickel package, I saw all 3 linebackers on the field because they were committed to stopping the run, because that's the Aints game. The Aints thrive on Kamara on the outside zone, toss, stretch plays, Taysom Hill on the power plays. Jimmy Lake was making sure that he was going to force Derek Carr to beat them. Well, all it took was 2 or 3 explosive plays, and they did, and it was from someone that hadn't hardly played for them. Marquez Valdes-Scantling created 2 big chunk plays, one for a touchdown and one that led to his second touchdown. Dude was putting up vintage Randy Moss numbers. It was pretty ridiculous, and it was very frustrating. But watching the all-22 tape, my frustration decreased, because it was just that you get beat sometimes. As much as I hate to say it, against a division rival that I personally hate the Aints. Like, the whole fan base, the team itself, I just don't like them at all. But you got to tip your cap. Marquez Valdes-Scantling on the first one just outran the defense. And Derek Carr threw a ball that landed right in his arms, and no one could catch up to him. And then on the second one, he sells a post, goes to the corner, has Clark Phillips on one-on-one. I mean, and then Derek Carr, he has to make the throw, and he did when it mattered most. The touchdown within the 5-yard line, I'm not worried about it. It was all about leverage. Derek Carr recognized that he threw the touchdown. And all in all, the defense did what it's done all year. It took a while to get going in the first half, and then it made adjustments, limiting drives, limiting time of possession for the Aints, limiting points, only 3 in the second half. In the second half, they put the offense in a position to win the game for you. So then you look at the offense. You had drives. You got within field goal range. But that's not what you want. You don't want to go for field goals. You want touchdowns. There were times where the Falcons just shot themselves in the foot, giving up crucial sacks in moments that they didn't need to. And then, Kirk's inability to move around, of course, that hurts the Falcons. But at the same time, there were Caleb McGarry on two plays, tripped and fell, which led to sacks, which were drive killers, one in the red zone. You gave Cam Jordan the first sack of the season. Of course, it came against us. What's new? He loves to hate on us. But, I mean, it was very frustrating in the moment, because the Aints switched from their zone-heavy scheme to more of a cover 1 man based off the all-22, and it just didn't seem like our guys were beating that man coverage. They were jamming him at the line. They were playing that trail technique very well. At times, Kirk was able to layer the throw and get it to him. But, man, it was very frustrating. The bright spot was Bijan Robinson, over 100 yards rushing, a touchdown, a big one. I think it was 37 yards. And in the passing attack, he makes people miss. Over 100-yard scrimmage, I believe now 6 games in a row. Bijan is coming into his own. He is becoming a focal point of the offense, which is what you want. You just got to utilize it more and just convert those long sustained drives. Because if the offense is able to generate long drives, keep the defense fresh, not allow the other team to get game flow, continuity, get a sense of what the defense is getting, well, you're setting up the defense who is your weaker, the big three, right? Special teams, offense, defense, that's your weakest point. You're setting them up for success. So, kudos to the Aints. They had the energy. You got the interim coach boost in the first game after firing him. The players were buying in. You were in NOLA. I mean, it was a recipe for success for them and disaster for the Falcons. And I didn't want to buy into it. I didn't want to because I have confidence in our team. And I know Raheem and his crew does too, but they fell flat. And we expect success now, right? We got a little taste of success, especially against someone as weaker as the Aints. They're not a good team. They are going to finish with they may not win another game, maybe one more. I think I at max 5 games to finish out the season. But the division is still up for grabs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the easiest schedules remaining, and what looked like an easy schedule for the Falcons is now one of the hardest schedules for the Falcons. Younghoe Koo, he's in a slump. I've seen a lot of people calling for him to lose his job, bring in kickers, sign to the practice squad. Shooters shoot, and shooters get in a slump sometimes. Younghoe Koo is no exception. I was very shocking. First time ever in his career, he missed 3 field goals in a game, right? We've seen the occasional, he missed one, darn, get the next one, and then he gets it. You had one blocked, you hit one, hit the upright, and then one was just straight up miss. It's tough. Those are 9 points, and the Falcons only lost by 3. The Falcons missed an opportunity to continue a perfect run in the division, sweep the Aints. You already sweep the Bucs, sweep the Aints, and then move on to the Panthers, who I believe is the last game of the season. It's frustrating because now you have an overall record of 6-4. You're 4-1 in the division, and the season's still up for for grabs. And I put out a tweet and I retweeted someone that the Falcons really won't be taken seriously until they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and not in a close fashion, right? The Falcons are scoring 0.2 more points than they are giving up. So they are barely winning games. The only game they really ran away with was against the Panthers, and even that one in the first half wasn't all that. I know Jimmy Lake on the defensive side. Going back to the defensive side, Jimmy Lake is trying, guys. He is trying different personnel packages. He is trying to set up his players for success. I mean, hell, they blitzed the second most they have all year. They were trying to get to Derek Carr with a weaker offensive line. They got 2 total pressures on 48% blitz rate and no sacks. No sacks on the game. That makes 8 games without a sacks, and we're in week 11 coming up. It's tough. It's frustrating from a fan base because all we do is sit behind a screen, or we're in the stadium in the seats and we watch the game, and we're calling for this guy's head when it's his first year here, and everyone's going to point, well, Ryan Nielsen, he had it dialed in. Sure. He was also a defensive lineman coach. He coached those guys up well. I mean, sometimes you bring the energy and things work out, right? A lot of the free agent signings that we signed were for Ryan Nielsen, David Onyemata, Caden Ellis, Mike Hughes, which Mike Hughes is actually playing better this year than he is last year. Jesse Bates. I mean, it doesn't matter what defense you're in. Jesse Bates will be an all-pro no matter where you put him. But then you have players like Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon who are veteran players, name players in this league. Like, other teams would be happy to have them on their roster, and they're just not panning out. So for people to sit there and say Terry Fontenot is not doing anything to improve this roster, he's trying. Because Justin Simmons, he was cut by the Broncos solely for salary cap purposes. He hadn't fully slumped. Sure, he may have had a slight down year last year, but it hasn't been great this year for him. Matthew Judon, his worst season since 2018, and also being double-teamed more this year since 2018. And that was the last time he had less than 10 sacks, and he currently only has 2.5 on the year. It's been a while since we've seen him wipe his face mask from a sack. So it's very frustrating to see the results that are happening because this team can be great. Right now, the Falcons sit in the 3rd seed in the NFC. They're still 1st in the NFC South. But again, like I said, it's not a cakewalk. The Falcons have to go into every game in this is a must-win situation. Of course, I'm not saying they go in like, whatever, we can do that. Maybe they did that against Seattle earlier this year, the trap game, but this was also a trap game. I didn't want to believe it, but it was. It was. What were you going to do against a bad team that just fired their coach? They're in disarray. They don't have an identity. You laid flat, and you didn't play up to your standard. You continue to make the same mistakes and hurt yourself. It's tough. It's tough. Coming out of this game, we had several injuries. Troy Anderson re-aggravated that knee, that knee injury from week 4. I mean, we hadn't seen him since week 4. Week 10, 6 weeks later, he re-aggravated it. He only saw 14 snaps. He didn't play great, but that could be because he hasn't played since week 4. James Smith-Williams and Taquan Graham were said to be not good as far as injuries. According to Raheem, the quote from Raheem, it didn't look good. So we could be without James Smith-Williams and Taquan Graham. So does that mean Brandon Dorlus potentially is activated for the first time this year? I'm just curious on why he has it. I mean, is there nothing else that he can provide other than something different? You know, maybe we'll see more of Zach Harrison because Zach Harrison isn't seeing that all. I don't think he's seen 20+ snaps a game yet. I'd like to see him more on the field. Could J.D. Bertrand return this week from a concussion? He's missed 2 games in a row. Maybe they hold him out one more week for the buys and then have him ready for the end of the year. I don't know because the linebacker room is pretty thin. You have Caden Ellis, you have Nate Landman, and then you have Rashaan Evans, especially if Troy was considered day-to-day. But we saw that he was day-to-day for 3 weeks straight and still was inactive. Some other news, Drew Dahlman could be returning for the Falcons at center. I don't think they're in a rush to get him back in the starting lineup because Ryan Nazeal has been playing really well. He has. But if Dahlman comes back, that's an extra boost. I think Nazeal has earned himself another contract, hopefully with us this offseason. This Falcons team can win the division still. They can. And as many of you are frustrated, I am too. Don't get it wrong. I try and look at it from a larger picture instead of the microscope that a lot of you look at it. So I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I'm just telling you the way I view things. And I think this Falcons team will be okay. Remember, it's first year for everyone. First year for Kirk, first year for Zach Robinson, first year for Jimmy Lake. Raheem's second stint as a head coach with this organization. So it's a lot of firsts, right? And it kind of reminds you of 2015, back when Dan Quinn first became the head coach and he had Kyle Shanahan and he was figuring everything out. They started off hot, kind of fizzled away. And I think they got a 9-7 record, missed the playoffs. But I do expect them to make the playoffs. This is still a winnable division. 2 tough matchups coming up. Against the Broncos defense, who is a top 5 unit. You have the bye week, and then you go up against arguably top 3, if not the best defense in the Chargers. So a very tough matchup. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up. You want to stay positive because Raheem believes, and I believe in Raheem. And a lot of people don't believe in this organization, rightfully so. Not a lot of happy memories for this organization, but it's been a while since we've seen something positive out of this team since 2017. It's been 7 years. So maybe give a little bit of grace. I want to appreciate every one of you that took the time to watch this video. A reminder, I am live, part of the 95 North Sports Machine crew every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will also have a pregame matchup video myself as an individual looking at the matchup for the Falcons coming up against the Denver Broncos. Again, it sucks to lose against your most hated rival. I hate that team, the Aints. They are the Aints. They always will be. That's what I call them, and I don't care if they're good or bad. Don't care.